I worked that would find ways to have certain interaction with a girl who wasn't even in our office. And they would go to hand them something, and as they would hand them something, they would touch them, or they'd put their hand on their back, or try to touch their hand. And it was all a big thrill for these guys. You better be careful. You better be real careful. Adultery is electronic. It's not just a computer. It's a phone, it's a cell phone, it's chat rooms, it's television, it's movies. Why? Because our heart's unfaithful. Technology is a great thing when it's in boundaries. When it's in boundaries. Sometimes it's just plain old flirting. Flirting with the waitress, flirting with the flight attendant, flirting with the secretary, flirting with the boss. Better be careful, because your heart's right on the edge. Because if you think that's okay, because you can get away with it, you see what I'm saying? Jesus is digging deep. Deep. The sad part is, sometimes it's really intentional. I really believe that there are people that go out looking for somebody who will just pay them attention. They don't care who it is. They'll just go, anybody that takes the bait, and they'll go with it. It's scary. Really scary. This is your pastor talking to you. All of that stuff is inappropriate. I make no apology for telling you, you need to be careful, because you are messing with fire. I love you enough to tell you, you better guard your heart. Why? Because it's incredibly painful. It's incredibly painful to everybody that's involved. Not just you, but everybody. You say, oh, but you don't understand, man. You don't get it. Oh, I know. I know. It's been justified, and it gets excused, and it gets overlooked. And I realize that what I'm telling you is a little old-fashioned. It's about 2,000 years old, but it wasn't my idea. My point is, you're right. It has been all those things. And in North America, we've got all these reasons why we think it's okay, but we could be wrong. We could be wrong. What I'm trying to tell you is that in our culture, this is a very real problem. Because we think it's games. We think it's fun. And if you're married, your marriage is not something to play around with. And if you're single, your heart is not something to play around with. And I'll tell you why. Because your passion is an incredibly powerful force. Incredibly powerful. And if you start thinking with your heart instead of your head, you're going to mess up. Because your heart won't ever make any sense. Remember 4th grade, you were in love? Your heart was lying to you. You thought it was love, but that's all you could understand at that point. But your heart was lying to you. Your love and passion and your hormones are very difficult to harness. Incredibly difficult to harness. Listen, if you're a teenage young lady here today, I got a word for you. If some boy ever comes up to you and says, listen, if we don't have sex right now, I'm going to blow up. You pull $5 out of your pocket, put it on the table, and say, that's worth seeing. Go ahead, I want to see it. I want to see the kid explode. Dude, that would make YouTube. Am I lying? Your hormones are hard enough to control. You don't need to go out stoking them on purpose. Am I right? Come on, old people. Tell these young kids, I'm not lying to them. You have got to decide where the line is before the windows are fogged up. Because if you wait till the windows are fogged to decide where the line is, you will choose wrong. Every time. Because your hormones and your heart will be in control instead of your brain. You need to think, not feel. You need to think. Now I realize that the culture is full of many, many, many things that are designed to excite us. It's called advertising. Stuff's everywhere. Billboards, bumper stickers, t-shirts, television, you name it, it's everywhere. And let's face it, sex sells. Correct? Right? I mean, have you ever noticed that sometimes there's an ad for something that has absolutely nothing to do with anything But there's always some beautiful person in it. You might go, how'd that get in there? Just so you will watch. Because nobody cares about macaroni and cheese. I mean, come on. We're having a sale on asparagus. And you're like, where's the asparagus? I mean, because it's the person we're looking at. I understand there's lots of things. Lots of ways that the world stimulates us. And it's all just to get our attention and keep our attention. However, the issue for today is that Jesus is talking about a heart issue. He's not talking about a body issue. He's talking about a heart issue. So the question is this: why would our hearts be so empty that we would intentionally arouse a selfish sexual desire? You know what that's called? Perversion. That's what that's called. Why would we want to violate someone else for our own gain? You know what that's called? Abuse. Why would we want to put everything that we've worked for at risk for just a momentary chemical buzz? You know what that's called? Foolish. Why would we want to hurt the people who've loved us for so much and so long for just a temporary thrill? That's called being ignorant and not paying attention. Every one of these are the symptoms of a heart problem, not a sexual problem. I need you to hear this. The computer is not a sexual problem. It's a heart problem. Pornography is not a sex problem. It's a heart problem. Alcohol is not a substance problem. It's a heart problem. Drug abuse is not a drug problem. It's a heart problem. Lying, cheating, name it. It's a heart issue. Because if God can settle our heart, He can settle our behaviors. And the world, our idea in the culture is, if we can attack the behavior, somehow that's going to change. But I want to remind you, if we don't change how we think, it won't change how we feel. And if it doesn't change how we feel, it won't change how we act. We can go round and round and round. That's $100 worth of counseling right there in 12 seconds. If it doesn't change how you think, it will never change how you feel. And the only way to change how you think is to have a heart surgery. Is to change your heart. Above all else, guard your heart, for out of it flow the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. Matthew 12:34. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. We can tell what you love by what you talk about. Every one of these behaviors that we despise as a culture and as families, every one of them is a heart issue. It's not a behavior issue. It's a heart issue first. Then the behaviors can change. Because the truth is, eventually, our heart gets